Yesterday, we started to get an idea of exactly what these GPUs are
Dude,
capable of, and it's kind of scary
it's
at how
insane.
it's
I was, yeah, I mean, the 90 tier is always like this really, really high-end, excellent, just crazy performance product. But man alive, this is something entirely different.
Mhm.
We're talking about like 70% or more performance jumps over the 3090 Ti in some games at 4K. Like, uh, this is I've never seen. I can't think of the last time I saw a performance jump this big right after a performance jump as big as we
as
got with
long
the
as it
30
was.
series. I am particularly excited about what we have in store because we have built these cards to really go the distance. Okay. So
As we always do.
yeah, to recap, we're talking about the latest Lovelace architecture. We've got fourth gen Tensor cores, third gen RT cores, twice the AI and ray tracing performance on these. And we talked a little bit about the build of the Strix and TUF cards a few weeks ago. We really tried to improve on the build quality even from last generation, which really was an excellent design. The whole thing is a die cast shroud, frame, backplate. It's like a full metal card with a 3.5 slot design. You've got a massive fin array in there with that heatsink. You've got 304 millimeter axial tech fans. And these are bigger than last generation. So you're going to get like 23% more airflow than the previous gen TUF fans, which were previously, I think, some of our biggest fans on cards. And that's just the fans. The real secret sauce here is the vapor chamber design that we're using. It's not just a regular heatsink, it's a vapor chamber with milled channels where the heat pipes go. So they get better contact with the surface of the vapor chamber itself. This is a really, really interesting design that has allowed us to really maximize the thermal, the heat dissipation of this card. Plus that huge vent on the back plate, which is just so cool looking. I love that. Let's start by talking about this and what we're able to do with it. So the stock TGP of these cards, which again we talked about last time, is 450 watts. That's what
Yep.
NVIDIA announced. With Strix in particular, we wanted to create more overhead so that users could have the best possible experience. So our Strix 4090 this time around was actually designed for up to 600 watts. Okay. Now, that gives you some really interesting things to play with. So you can actually push it up to 600 watts in GPU tweak, right? You can take GPU tweak, take that power slider, just drag it to the end, and you can get a massive amount of power out of this card. Now, it'll still vary how much it actually pulls from game to game. But that gives you an excellent amount of room to play with the power. Pushing from 450 just to 500 watts got us around 100 megahertz more clock in across a ton of cards that we tested. Okay, and the temperature, and we've seen some cards go over 3,000 megahertz.
Wow.
So like, there's again, if you're willing to, it's not even like overclocking. It's not even like tinkering in the sense that it used to be, right? Like you're just taking a slider going. Bloop, and temperatures are really great too. So the reason that we designed the card to be this beef monster with this amazing vapor chamber in it is because we want you to be able to do that without seeing really high temperatures and really loud fan noise. So in Furmark, which is just like taking your card to the absolute max, just hammering it with load with the fuzzy donut. When we pushed our card to 600 watts in Furmark, in a 25 degrees Celsius room, that's 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's not a cool room. That's a warm room. The temperature on the card at 600 watts, pushing to the absolute max, was 71 degrees Celsius,
That's great.
which is yeah,
That's really
that's
good.
laughably amazing. I kind of did a double take when I saw that. Speaking of quiet operation, this goes in the other direction too. So if you want to make the card even more efficient, even quieter, and actually bring the wattage down, you can undervolt this card too in GPU tweak. And man, when NVIDIA said that these were some of the most efficient cards they produced, they were not joking around. Because I mean, if you push the power limit slider down, when you bring it down to like 350 watts, in our testing, that lowered performance in Cyberpunk 2077 by about 6%. That's 100 watts for only losing 6% performance. That's 40 frames
That's
per second
huge.
down to like 37 and a half. right? In like our most brutal, high settings test. You wouldn't necessarily play at that, but so 6% performance difference for 100 watts in savings. And that lowers noise all the way down to like 18 decibels.
Wow.
So you're talking about like the Strix card is built for people who want to really push the limits of high power. I personally love buying Strix cards to kind of almost tone the power back a little bit and just get the quietest experience possible with still incredible amounts of power. Because even at 350 watts, this card is an insane beast that trounces everything we saw last generation. One of the questions we've kind of gotten a lot in the Discord, by the way, join our Discord, guys, is about power supplies. What kind of power supply am I going to need to run this card? We have an official chart for you now. We've talked about this a little bit on the channel before. When you go to the product page for these graphics cards, you'll usually see a recommended power supply value. But that can vary depending on what else you're running in your system. As Jake has learned the hard way, plugging like 1,000 things into his one little motherboard. And so we have this table that'll show you what kind of power supply you're probably going to want based on the CPU that you're running with that GPU. And again, if you have a ton of other stuff plugged in, maybe you want to go a little higher, have a little bit of extra headroom, a little more efficiency, that's a good idea too. But so if you're running like a i5 or Ryzen 5 tier CPU, an 850 watt should do you just fine with the 4090. And any higher than that, you're going to want 1,000 watts or even 1,200 watts. Let's take a look at the TUF. There's not, I've said a lot of what I can say. Most of the same stuff is true about the TUF here, right? This is a 450 watt card. You can push it higher in GPU tweak if you want. It doesn't have the same, it has a vapor chamber, but it doesn't have the same like milled channels for the heat pipes. So you're not going to get quite the same high level of performance as the Strix card in terms of thermals and whatnot, but it's still an excellent card. I mean, again, still many slots, still many fins. You're going to get great cooling performance on this. In P mode, I think we were seeing like 67 degrees Celsius versus 74 degrees in Q mode. Both that, again, 450 watts for that. Q mode is about 10 times quieter than P mode. So again, not as much of a range as you see with the Strix, not quite as much room to play and really see that vapor chamber flex its muscles, but still really, really excellent performance. It looks amazing. Love the aesthetic of the TUF cards. Going to match great with our new TUF motherboards, which are, they're lookers, man. Let me tell you. And again, it's the same rules apply in terms of wattage and the power supply that you're going to want for this card as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are our cards. We're hoping to get some in soon, you guys. We're going to do some more performance testing, playing with them on stream. We promise this is not the end. I'm really, really excited to show off what these can do, but we wanted to give you guys the full list of details today because you can go buy them. I'm seeing a lot of notes in chat that people are buying them up. So stay tuned. We'll be doing more in the coming weeks. Give us a follow if you haven't already. Twitch and YouTube. YouTube guys, come on over to Twitch. We have giveaways every week.